Welcome back in Tec Dev Studio, and in this video we are going to learn about the AI behavior tree. So before starting that, I want to recommend just join our Discord group, link in the description below. So there are lots of the Unreal Engineers available. You can fun with them, you can share your knowledge, you can give replies, you can ask questions. I try my best. Whenever I'm free, I try my best to give you the reply. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing, today we're going to learn Unreal Engine 5.2 AI behavior tree. So what is the AI behavior tree and why we need that? The AI behavior tree is a system to make the AI's bot. For example, PUBG have a AI bot in the game that who can search you, who can basically find resources, and he can collect, he can find enemies, he can shoot, he can take cover. So you can say smart enemy or a smart AI bot. Okay, so that is basically called the AI. In Unreal Engine, you will find a simple AI system here, but you can do lots of it thing. So first, let's create a folder called AI. It's not necessary, I'm just showing. Second, you find the AI system on the AI artificial intelligence, that AI behavior and blackboard and environment query. So what is the behavior tree and blackboard? So the behavior tree is basically the visual system that how it's going to be work. You're going to make all the logics and other stuff, and the blackboard is contain the variables. For suppose how we have in our character, in suppose we have in a variable lots of like collecting the data etc, that is the same in the AI. They already specify that with the blackboard. So the blackboard is created mandatory, otherwise you can't able to access the data. So let's create a blackboard. Let's give it name that BD, that is blackboard data, and then let's create a behavior tree. So BT, that is behavior tree, and then let's create a simple actor, a AI. So I'm copying our BP third person one and simply move to our AI folder, and let's give it name that BP AI. Now once you have a AI, you can drag and drop at here. Make sure the AI doesn't need the camera movement, so you can remove the unnecessary component. It's not mandatory to removing unnecessary component, but if you want, you can do. Okay, fine. Now the first thing you need to do one more thing at here, that is you need to give the navigation mesh volume to the AI, so the AI can understand, okay, so where I can basically go and where I can't go. For example, if we are a player or a AI, that we can't go inside of this wall, okay, we know that. So AI will be do the same thing. AI doesn't go there or there. It will be basically go, if we are on up, it will basically follow this path where is possible. So for making the possible system, we need to use the navigation mesh volume. So at the component, go to the volumes, that are all class. You can go to all class, even the volumes too. So in the volumes, you find here that navigation mesh volume. So where is that? Let me here, the navigation mesh volume, and then simply give how much you want. So you can scale it, and you can check if you want to check the how it's working. You can by selecting this collision, you can press P to active this system, and it's not for activity, it's just a visual activity. Like you can understand that, okay, so as you can see, our AI can go there, it can be maximum can be go there, okay. And as you can see, because there's a breakdown at here, it can't be go. So make sure wherever is green line or the green color, our AI can be reach that position. Okay, so also we need to give a height, so our AI can go up, up. So here now, as you can see, our AI can move there. So if we are even here, our AI can reach us here. Okay, fine. Now let's create some variables and let's connect with our trees and let's do some logics. So first, we need to think about what we want to do. I want that our AI can chase us, okay. So for chasing system, we need to give one more component called AI controller. So you can go to our blueprint classes and search here that AI controller, and here you find that AI controller. Make sure there's a player controller available inside of controllers, but we are going to use the AI controller, and I'm giving name that AI con, that is AI controller. And now once we have the AI controller, because the AI control is very important, I'll show you why. The first thing, let's make the variables, because variables are very important. So in the variable here we found something like this that call new key, save, search, and here is the Blackboard data, and here is to find new key and existing variables. So this is basically your existing variable list. So by default it will give you a self factor. It's not mandatory, you can right mouse and press delete here, even you can rename. So what we want that for chasing us, we need to give our data to him so he can chase us, he can get our location where we are, and he can reach that location. And yeah, for that we need to add a key, and here you find almost every variables, kind of like boolean, class, enum, float, int, name, object, rotation, string, vector, that all the needed variables for doing this thing. So make sure our in Unreal Engine Blackboard there's a no character class available, there's a object class available. In the object variable you can choose the characters and other stuff, because this is the object basically. So our character is an object first, so we'll be select the object category, that is object category type variable, type is object. And now let's change that to enemy reference, because for him we are enemy, so enemy, enemy ref. Now once we have the enemy ref, if you want you can make the category, but I don't want the categories, I'm not giving any value at here. So at here you can expand that, and here you can basically choose the classes, which type of class you want. So in my case I'm going to give our player, so BP, that is BP third person, I guess, if I remember, BP third person. Yeah, let me check and give it check first. And let me just rename it so I can find more easy. So BP player. Now it will be more easy for me to search. So player BP, it will become same, that BP player, and now we have a VP player. Here you find more that instance synchronizing option. It's not mandatory, if one you can enable. Then you find the parent, that which basically it are, but we are not going to, don't need to give any parent class at here. Okay, click on save. Once we have, this is now a variable, okay, and it's have basically the class, that which type of inside of this variable, what is the basically the class. Now the second what we need is, because now we have our player reference, so we can send him and tell him to chase us. Then once it's done, we want to attack him, so let's give a boolean, that attack. So with this boolean, it will verify that, okay, can we attack, our AI can attack us or not. Okay, fine, we have our necessary variables. Now let's move to make the logics. So for making the logics, we need to go to the BT, that is behavior tree. So instead of the behavior tree, you find something like this: a save button, a Blackboard, the new Blackboard, the new task, new directory, new services. And at the right side you find your behavior tree, the Blackboard. By default your first Blackboard asset will be automatically add here if you don't have multiple, okay, but if you have multiple you can choose from here which one you want to choose. At the Blackboard you find all the reference variable that which you create in your Blackboard. As you can see, the enemy ref and attack, which we already have at here. So it will be, we can basically use that. So we don't need to call that, okay, we are using the blah blah clustering stuff. Okay, we don't need to do. Okay, now the first thing we can, how we can make the logics, make sure the behavior tree work with a priority categories to a side by side. For example, if you have three logics to do, for example, first is find enemies, second is go to home or take rest, so the behavior tree always execute from the left side to right side. Okay, so his first priority is to go left, then if it's a false or true, whatever it is, then it will be go to right side. So make sure you give all of your important one and the most requirement one in the left side, and the other unnecessary important tasks to right side. Okay, now if you scroll from here, you with left mouse you can basically get a arrow, something like that. How we can get that similar in the Unreal Engine animation state. So once you drag, you find here the three more option called selector, sequence, and simple parallel. So what is the selector? Selector is a kind of like a conditional type or a flip-flop stuff, like where it will be first still if you have two more tasks at here, suppose A and B, at that time it will be first execute A, second time it will try to execute B. So it's basically going to be execute first A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, okay, like that. The second one is basically the sequence. I guess you understand what is the sequence. With the sequence basically using or compiling or run the multiple tasks with the same time. Then you find the simple parallel. So this is a conditional type execution. If it will be always try to execute if it's the condition is fill up or whatever it is, or it is successfully launched there, you can get a output from here. You can finish the method from here, that delay or immediately you find some option at here. Okay, the first, because what we want is I want to chase, so I'm going to create a simple sequence. Once you have a sequence, now in Unreal Engine Behivor Tree, it's automatically have some preset to use. Like from that sequence, if you drag, you find here that a compose and you find the task. At the task, by default Unreal Engine makes some tasks. For example, find a result, make noise, make directory tau, move to, that is similar like AI move to, play animation, play sound, push pawn action, rotate to the face of BPB entry, then run behavior tree dynamic, run EOS query, then tag cooldown, wait, and wait blackboard timeout. So it's have some basically already made preset task. So what is the task? Task is basically what you need to do. Okay. So for making a task, if you want, you can create by your own task. For example, here you find the new task option. Simply click on new task. Now you can give your assigned task name. For example, let me give you a task called attack. So I'm just simply create the task. I'm not going to use right now because let me show you first the chasing one. So for making the chase, what I'm going to do from here, I'm going to use the move to. At the move to, now here you find something called acceptable radius. That is basically the similar how we find in the BP that AI move to the acceptable radius, that how much near it can be accept that okay you are near of that character. So in my case, I'm giving it to 50. Then you find the filter classes. It's not mandatory, but if you use, it's a very good that AI controller default. Then you find here at the advanced option, allow practical path, tracking move goals and projectile goals, location, other stuff. And then here you find the blackboard key reference. So by default, it's take the enemy ref because this is an object class. Make sure if you go to, even let me show you some blueprints first, so you'll get more better result. Like how we do in AI move to, we give a pawn that is the self and destination, or we set up a target, so where he need to basically go. That is pretty similar at here, that the blackboard key that it's going to be used, that enemy ref, that is a object variable, and ignore register self. If you want, you can enable that, but that is not mandatory. So now we have a basically a logics that okay, when the game will be start, when the behavior tree will be start, it's going to be runs the sequence and it's going to be moved to the player where we are. So now what we need to do, we need to run the behavior tree. How? For running a behavior tree, make sure we don't even need this stuff like this. Even we don't need a begin play at here. We need to first set up the controller to our player so we can use that. So just scroll it and here you find, or even you can search here, that is a more good for you, that AI control, and here you find that AI controller class. Now select your that AI con, that is our AI controller. So it's basically help you to, if you have multiple AI, it will be basically very help you to assign them. Now we have a AI controller. So if you remember, we create AI controller. Now this AI controller similarly have the controlling system. So now we can run here the everything. So in the event graph, we need to search that run behavior tree. It automatically have the system because this made for the running the AI systems. Now we'll be choose our behavior tree logics, which logic we want to run. Now compile and save. Now it's ready to rock and roll. But Now we need to do one more thing. You have a question, bro, how you'll set up the data that instead of that blackboard that okay we are at here, because we need to give him reference, because by default every variable is equals none, that is the empty. So how? So we need to call, or if you want to put any data of your inside of your blackboard key or in your inside of your blackboard data. So what you need to do, you need to search at that get blackboard, and by getting the blackboard, this is a function and it's targeted the AI controller, and make sure the AI controller is working with the behavior, so you don't need to attach more or externally. From that you can set, and if you search set, you can basically able to put any data inside of that variable type. So we have boolean, class, enum, float, int, name, object, rotator, and vector, then string, and many more. But because our variable is a object class, so our object type variable, so we're going to use set as a value as a object. Now the key name is basically you need to give the variable name, because in the behavior tree there's no option to choose kind of like with sprint selection. So we need to make a literal name, so it's going to be take that, or you're going to basically put. So what you need to do, we need to copy the name whatever it is we create, in your case whichever you give, simply just paste. So now instead of our blackboard, you'll be getting to get all the data, and from this specific variable it's going to be update the data. So by default, as you can see, it's have a empty and none. Now let's make a logic that if he see us, we'll be need to get his data. So in the viewport at the add a component, let's add a C, that is functions component. Once we add the compound sense component, it will should be look something like this. Now compile save. Now go to event graph, and now here you find that on C. So let's get the on C. Now from the pawn, let's call that cast to player BP. Now we have a player BP. Now from that, because if it successfully sees, so now we are able to put data inside of that. So simply inside like this. Now suppose if you are filled, what you want to do? I want to basically set it as a empty. So same, again copy that and make the filter to set up this on this variable, and I'm leave it like a blank, so it's not going to be put any data and it should be blank. Then it should be something like this. So as a result, the execution system is like that. Whenever our pawn will see us, that is BP player, if it successfully see us or cast us, it will be basically put the data to this object, and if it's fail, then it's going to be put the data at here that equals none. Now we have decision what we need to do. So now if you want, you can give a comment that AI chase. Even I'm pretty sure I spell wrong. I'm not sure when it's this one is corrected or not. However, let's try right now. So if I click on play, as you can see, the AI is running and he's come near of me, and that is maintaining 50 float value. Now if I try to run from him, he will be again follow me. Even if I go here, he also try to follow me because he have the navigation mesh. But if I try to jump and come here, he never able to come at here because he don't have this path to come. But if I come near on set here, I just try to go some far, even try to run some here, I try to again execute him, he will be follow that path again and he will be try to come near again. Okay, you can say kind of like a pet or patrolling dog. With that, you can make a patrolling dot system. Okay, now you understand that how you need to basically the system going to be execute. Now let's create a task that if you're near and successfully cast us, now we want to run a one system. What we want to make our attack logic. Okay, so let's make a condition at here. Like if it successfully made, so we can use this conditional parallel system, and let's use a delay that it's going to be run this that move to, and if it's success it's going to be re-execute this one, and at there it's going to be at the task it's going to be use our attack task system. Okay, so because this is the attack task system, you can add a directory that it what should be do are even it's want to do or not. So at the task we need to get the execution, so exc, and here the exe you find here that even execution, where is that hack? Here you find that AI receiver execution, and you find one more here that ex. If you search here, you find here something like this, that AI receives execution. So most of part we use this one, that event receives execution, and for finish upping our task we will be use that finish, or finish. What the heck, where you are? Finish execution, and here if you set it to true, it's going to be complete the task. If it's false, it's going to be not complete the task. So now let's do a logic. Even if we are near of that, so what are we going to do? From the controller character, it will be a cast to our BP player, and then instead of there I want to basically run a function, so it's similar behave like a that it's giving us damage. So at here let me create a custom event, that damage get, and if it's that true, so let's do a print string that damage. Now compile save. Now let's back to our task or the attacking system, and basically start here. Let's call that function that damage get. Now we have the damage get. Now if it successfully do, it will be finish the execution as a success. Otherwise it's going to be set up here as a casting that false, so it will be re-execute that. Now compile and save. Now we have this thing. Now let's click on play. Now let's see if it's work. Some of cases it didn't. Okay, now why it didn't work, we need to give a look. So at here the controller pawn is basically our own self, that is not a valid one. So what we need to do, we need to get all actor from class, kind of like that, get all actor from class. Or even suppose you want to get a variable like which one we casted, like we have in our controller we set up that which character we want to cast. So in our attack one we can make a variable as a enemy ref, and at the enemy ref make sure you set it instant editable and exposed on pawn, and at here you need to give that variable type, that is basically our BP player. So BP player, and set here as the object. Now compile save. Now get this thing and you can execute with this. Compile save. Now go to the blackboard, and here you will can set up the character from referrer, but this is not a actual way to use. So the most best part to use that blackboard key. So you can search here that blackboard, and at here at the blackboard you can set up here that blackboard key selector and set up here. So what's basically going to be do, it will be basically going to be at in this variable we can choose anything. For example, if I go to the here, and as you can see the enemy ref, we can choose our attack and even the enemy ref. That is the basically thing. So now we are able to do or set up collecting the data from our blackboard key to our attack logics. So now because it's have the logics that which one you need to do, so this is mostly used for the setuping and getting. So let's get object, and then as a return we can connect like this, so it's going to be work. Now click on play, and as you can see it's giving us damage because it successfully did. I'm not sure why and how, because it's maybe done before executing the system. So we can make here a logic that if we are at that near distance, then should be do, otherwise it's not should be give us any damage. So for make that system, what we can do, we can make here the logic that a sequencer, and with that sequencer you can connect something like that. and the sequence will be only execute when we are near of that enough. So at the blackboard create directory will be get a blackboard, and this is a condition that we can here this set the condition when it want to execute. So at here let's give it the attack, that if its attack equals to set, it's mean that if that boolean is true at that time it should be give attack, otherwise it's not. So now we are going to do that on the sequence. Okay, so you can make here a logic call. By default here not able to do here, so let's make a selector at here. So selector, and it will be do this, and then it will be do this. So at here we can use a sequence, and the sequence will be have a system that it will be basically always try to execute and verify the distance. So let's create another task, that new task. Come on, give me a new task. If it's not giving, you can go to AIs, and then you can basically duplicate that, and let's give it that get post, that is the get position. And in the get post, what I'm going to give, I'm need a vector to verify their location. So vector that lc, that is the location. So at the location, we need to verify it. So at here on the get post, whatever it is the variable, and from that what we are going to do, we are basically get a vector location, or you can get actor location, and then we need our own self actor location. So the own controller get our first we need to cast to our bpai, or let me check if it's an actor class or not. Oh, by default this is the actor class. Okay, so because this is actor location, so we are basically this is the actor reference basically, so that's why. So now we can basically verify the distance, that the distance vector, and with the v, and it is if it's less than equals to, 50 or 100, it will be basically able to attack, otherwise it will be never able to attack. So we'll be basically going to set the boolean as a true. So how, let's set that set target, set tar, set key, and we are again going to set it here like a blackboard selector advanced option, and compile save. And then we need to go to our behavior tree, and at the behavior tree we need to give this task. So